Yes, welcome back. It's Paranormasight. All my friends died. And now we get to be Barnum. Yeah. I guess we're discovering the Mermaids of Ise Bay. Look at us go. It's a recollection. Arnav Barnum, a cheerful fantasy author, sets off on a trip to visit the mermaid legends of the Ise Bay with his relative, Circe Lunarlight. I don't know how to say Circe. Is it Circe? You know what? I've decided. I'm gonna actually just look this up immediately. It's okay. I'm good. I did it. It's Circe. Circe. I feel better now. I feel better that I changed it to Circe. 1980X. Morning. All right. After this much hustle and bustle, we finally managed to make our way to Ise Bay. Nice. Take it all in now. We're standing on the coast of Nakabeppo in Mie Prefecture's Kawage town. That was a lot of words. Which means this is the Sea of Ise. The connection to the eternal world. How amazing. Indeed it is. Come, Circe. Henceforth begins our grand adventure in search of the legendary mermaids of Ise Bay. How amazing. I just can't stop saying it. Without further ado, my name is Arnav Barnum, an American-born fantasy author. Please call me Avi. Who are you introducing yourself to, weirdo? Oh, well, I simply thought a new beginning called for a little dramatic flair, you know? Sure. With that out of the way, perhaps my darling guide can provide some insight into the goings-on of this locale. Sure, I've got you covered. Interesting. Where are the stickers? I know we're in a memory. Oh, man. While this area is now called Nakabeppo, long ago it was a region of Ise province known as Betsuho. Records indicate that 3 mermaids were caught in a fisherman's net along the coast back in Heian period. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Let's hear more about those mermaids. They had human heads with the mouths of monkeys and the teeth and bodies of fish, and they spoke and even shed tears like humans. Could these be the fish mermaids you mentioned before, Avi? Indubitably, yes, this must be the place. I'm getting goosebumps. Good for you, Avi. Right, I feel the same way. This is so exciting. We are a weird duo. Betsuho. Betsuho is the old name for the area known as Nakabeppo, Kawage town in the Age district, so named during the events of this story. It has since been merged with Tsu City of Mie Prefecture. Said to have been the territory of Taira no Kiyomori's father, Taira no Tadamori, the area has deep connection to the Ise Heike. It is also said to be the location where 3 mermaids were caught in a fisherman's net and presented to Taira no Tadamori during the Heian period. Very cool. I mean, very concerning, but very cool. Is there more to look at? The endless expanse of the Ise Sea, the eternal world, may lie just beyond this horizon. After all, Ise province is the land whither repair the waves from the eternal world. The eternal world is purported to be a perpetual paradise, a separate plane from the world we live in, yes? It could be that mermaids hail from such a place? Oh, could it be that mermaids hail from such a place? I mean, maybe. We've come all the way to a distant foreign land seeking mermaids. Of course, I have my own reasons for trying to locate the mythical creatures. But for now, I intend to scour this land in order to learn as much as I can about its lore and legends. But it occurs to me that I never actually explained the particulars of my Ise Bay mermaid excursion to the girl. No matter, it's nothing of consequence, really, so I'll just introduce my reasons a bit at a time. All right. Is there new stuff? What's the new stuff? Occult artifact. Is this new? Oh, I see. He's made it as far as... He is currently in Japan seeking mermaid flesh, which is believed to grant immortality. His reason is simple, a fascination with the occult, a pursuit he feels worthy of devoting his entire life to. Indeed, he is primarily driven by his pursuit of romantic ideals. If he finds something suitably inspiring, he will readily risk his life for it, and is willing to change his views just as quickly for the same. Avi's interest in the occult was born when he discovered his great-grandmother's vast collection of mysterious occult artifacts in the storage of his family's home in America. Among them was a mermaid mummy, which yielded a mysterious map when taken apart, a discovery which captivated his imagination and led to his current quest. This great-grandmother happened to be a relative of the main lunar light family in England, albeit one who had chosen not to succeed the family estate. After discovering this through independent research into his lineage, Avi made contact with the lunar light family and continues to maintain a secret correspondence with them to this day. Okay. They're somehow connected to Somekawa, and she's somehow involved too. Notable works: The Fiend of Ringit and the Solar Crow, Hermod's Travels, and the Bon Appetit, the Phantom Gourmand series. Yeah, I think I read this before. He has a boyish jarb to him. He has an appetite for chasing his dreams. Or did I read this? However, it also comes with an equivalent amount of immaturity, making him somewhat troublesome to deal with. He believes that most any circumstance he finds himself will sort itself out, an optimistic creed that often sees him casually throwing himself into difficult situations, and he remains rather impressively unbothered, even on those occasions that he does find himself in trouble, often managing to slip out of danger with a nary dent in his usual carefree attitude. That he's made it this far unscathed is largely owed to sheer luck, although he remains blissfully unaware of this. Well, I read this in the wrong order, but hey, that's life. Can I think more? But then, would such mermaids be so easily trapped by simple fishing nets? I'd thought them more cunning than that. Perhaps these fish mermaids are in fact nothing more than a simple sea creatures. Oh, well, you know. Go and look into the sea, the rock, the grass. Snow. Okay. This young lady is a distant relative of mine, the third daughter of the Lunar Light family. The Lunar Lights have been in the business of demonic exorcism in England for several generations now. As such, young Circe has received education on this rare subject from a young age, and is now apprentice exorcist. In order to continue her training, or more likely simply because of her interest in the area, Circe has come to Japan to study abroad. Upon hearing such a news, I sought to employ her as my guide for this mermaid hunting expedition to Ise Bay. She is apparently quite fond of Japanese myths and folktales and has already explored a number of areas concerned with the occult. Interested in visiting Mie Prefecture at least once during her stay, she immediately agreed to my request. That's cool. Okay, yeah, so everything is new. A young exorcist from England, currently on exchange in Japan, possessed of a bold and willful nature, she harbors an ardent interest in Japanese folklore and occult stories. She is quick to involve herself in anything that interests her, not stopping until her curiosity has been completely sated. Although she can be fairly blunt, she shows a naivete appropriate to her age around those she's comfortable with, and it is not above the occasional prank. That's fun. Circe is the third daughter of Ciara Lunarlight, the current head of the matrilineal Lunar Light family, a long line of exorcists based in England. Along with her two older sisters, she has received a specialized education in exorcism ever since she was a child, and is currently in training as an apprentice. As the beings known as demons in the West ultimately share the same root, cause a harmful supernatural phenomena in the East. The spirits of the dead, strong thoughts, and curses. What she does as an exorcist is fundamentally the same as what Japanese psychics do, with only the methods and terminology differing. Primary spiritual abilities. Guardian spirits. The ability to call upon numerous guardian spirits of the Lunar Light family and invoke their powers to exorcise spirits and negate certain psychic abilities. Shikigami. The ability to turn a piece of paper with an individual's name written on it into a butterfly, which is not returned to the individual in question. Although she does not have to be the one who wrote the name, it must be Circe who cast the spell on the paper. What? A butterfly. Which will return to the individual in question. That's interesting. I guess it's like sending notes. Dowsing. The ability to use a pendulum to search for a target based on what the user can sense in their spiritual power. The effective distance of the spell depends on the strength of the target's spiritual power. Although she is supposed to be in the care of Paranormal Affairs Bureau, a confidential Japanese institute, during her time in Japan, Circe has been spending more time traveling around the country sightseeing than working through her training curriculum. The supervisor in charge of her training has all but given up on trying to manage her as a result, resolving to keep an eye on her but otherwise not interfere. As such, she's afforded a relatively high level of freedom. Circe is an ardent fan of Mio Suzu. Oh my god, Mio! A girl with potent spirit sense and her senior in the industry in Japan. She harbors both strong admiration and strong feelings of rivalry towards her in equal measure, and it is not uncommon for her to end up a babbling mess when the topic turns to the other girl. She treasures the photograph she had taken with Mio upon first meeting her in Tokyo, and keeps it with her at all times. Oh, that's so sweet. A nice girl. As far as this girl is concerned, I suppose I could be considered a guardian of sorts. Even so, I often find myself caught up in her pace and completely thrown off guard. If anyone should be shaking things up around here, it ought to be me. I guess so, sir. Wait, can I? Nope. But then, which blah 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 blah. I do love this character a lot. Kawage Town might be located next to Mie Prefecture's modern capital, Sioux City, but there's something you have to keep in mind. This was also the birthplace of Heike, a branch of the Heian period's pre-eminent Taira clan. If you're going to talk about Ise province, then you absolutely have to mention the Heike. I do have a passing understanding of the topic. The Heike took part in the Genpei War, correct? That's right. That was the war in the Heian period where two great samurai families, the Minamoto and the Taira, locked horns and really got into it. Among the Heike, Taira no Kiyomori was a particularly famous figure who appears in many creative works concerning the event. His father, Taira no Tadamori, was the one responsible for securing the Heike's high social standing. So Tadamori was Kiyomori's father, right? With names like that, how can anyone hope to keep them straight? That's history for you. I'm afraid you just have to memorize them. I keep forgetting to switch back and forth between American and British accents. I suppose you're right about that. Then memorize them I shall. Apparently, Tadamori was born in Sioux City in the place called Ubushina. Ah, so that's why they call this area the birthplace of the Heike. Sioux City. Yes. It's also known as the birthplace of the Heike. The Ubushina area in its suburbs is said to be where Taira no Kiyomori's father, Taira no Tadamori, was born. Yeah, this was just a port city otherwise. Let's talk about this place again. This is the metropolitan center of Mie, and a locus of historical events. I guess that makes it the perfect place to start a new journey. Talk about bets who own mermaids. Can we get back to those mermaids you mentioned? What became of the three that were caught in the fishing nets? At the time, the lord of this area was Taira no Tadamori. You didn't already forget him, did you? Well, the first fisherman thought the mermaids were a fascinating find, so he placed 2 of them in boxes and presented them to Tadamori. Oh, Lord Tadamori must have been well pleased by that. How could he not be? It was known that eating the flesh of mermaid grants eternal life. Actually, Tadamori said they were disturbing and gross and refused to accept them. Ah, what a waste! However, the fisherman cut up the remaining mermaids and ate it himself. So, what happened to him? Well, the fisherman said it was pretty tasty. Well now, tasty, is it? And that's all I've got. That's it? That's all I could find in existing records. It's tasty. Then the act of eating a mermaid's flesh alone may not produce any results. I suppose there may be other requisite conditions, wouldn't you say? You have to make it into a mermaid sandwich, Avi. Well, considering the sheer number of eyewitness reports concerning mermaids, it is odd that there aren't more immortals walking around. I hate that I know so many different types of British accents. It's getting hard to focus on one. I'm like trying to experiment. Well, enjoy the inconsistency, gang. There don't seem to be any records about what happened to the mermaids that Tadamori refused to accept. I suppose it's possible in the Heike clan snuck off with them. Now that's a hypothesis I can get behind. Yes. Talk about the Heike. I've put together an assortment of files concerning the Heike, so feel free to give them a look if you're interested. You have my heartfelt gratitude. Taira no Tadamori. Taira no Tadamori, the father of Taira no Kiyomori, an influential figure of the Heian period, was the man responsible for solidifying the social standing of the Ise Taira clan, and was notable for being the first samurai permitted to enter the imperial court. Entering the imperial court meant being granted access to the Tenjo no Ma, a chamber where those who directly serve the emperor performed their official duties. In an era where the warrior class was still considered of low status, a samurai rising to the level of court official was unprecedented. The Ise Taira clan went to extend its influence across various provinces, with the vast wealth it gained through trade with the Song dynasty of China solidifying its foundation. This significant influence was later inherited by his son, Kiyomori. Tadamori was said to have been a man of strong will and perseverance, yet despite the power he amassed in his lifetime, he was also said to have been modest and disinclined to indulge in luxuries. He disinclined. Okay, I see. Nukemaru. Oh yeah, that's the sword, huh? Tadamori's sword, an heirloom passed down through the Taira clan, originally named Kogarashi, is said to have become known as Nukemaru when a giant snake emerged from a lake and made to swallow the Tadamori whole as he lay resting. What? It was made... It emerged from a lake and ate the guy? At that moment, Kogarashi, which Tadamori had left leaning nearby, slipped from the scabbard of its own accord and drove the snake away. The name Nukemaru derives from the verb nuku, meaning to unsheath, and reflects the sword's extraordinary act of slipping from its scabbard onto its own to save its owner. Nukemaru was later inherited by Tadamori's son, Yorimori, but after the downfall of the Taira clan, it is said to have changed hands several times, and its whereabouts are currently unknown. The Mermaids of Betsuo. One time when Tadamori was visiting Betsuo in Ise province, 3 creatures with the heads of humans, the lips of monkeys, and the teeth and bodies of fish were caught in the local fishermen's nets, dubbing these creatures Ningyo. The original Japanese word for mermaids, Ningyo. Oh, it's Ningyo. The fishermen put 2 of them in a box that had washed up with them and presented them to Tadamori. However, Tadamori was unnerved by their appearance and refused to accept them. It is said that the remaining mermaid was cut up and eaten by the fishermen, who found them to be delicious. They were like, yum, yum, yum. Sure love eating them mermaids. Oh, and there's one more thing I should warn you about, though. Oh? This group sometimes gets referred to as Ise Tyra as well, which might make things a little confusing. I'll go ahead and label it as Heike. Does it really matter? Aren't they basically the same thing? Not exactly. You see, the term Ise Tyra refers to the Tyra clan as a whole because it originated in Ise. On the other hand, people generally refer to the family within the clan that included Tadamori and Kiyomori as simply the Heike. The family features prominently in stories we're interested in, so I'll use Heike most of the time. Plus, it has a nice ring to it. Either way works for me, so do as you like. The Tale of Heike. Also used Heike. You're awfully particular about this, but I rather like that kind of fastidiousness. What a vocabulary. Let's talk about Heike again. Anyway, after a number of events, the Heike would go on to lose the Battle of Dan no Ura and be completely eradicated. Ah, I believe I know this one. Dan no Ura is found in Kyushu, is it not? Bingo. The clan was chased out of Kyoto and pushed further and further west until they were eventually wiped out there. It pains me to think of such resplendently glorious clan meeting such an ignominious end. More's the pity. Why would you use words like this? That's why the Heike's resentment is particularly strong, and many remnants of it remain even today. Shrines and monuments have even been erected throughout the land in an attempt to quell that resentment. Ah, but now we reach your particular field of expertise. Because the clan fell from such an exalted position so abruptly, that resentment is exceptionally persistent and quite pervasive. That said, famous places related to people like Taira no Kiyomori are well attended by worshippers, so they're relatively stable. It's the puffed up and pretentious Heike clan members that no one even remembers who caused the most trouble. I seem to recall a number of individuals going so far as to claim that those outside the Heike clan could not even be considered human. But if that's the case, are we really safe here? You don't think we might find ourselves assailed by these lingering grudges? Much of the Ise province is protected by shrines, and the area is suffused with spiritual energy, so we're probably safer here than most places. But that's just the land itself. Objects or people that the resentment has seeped into are a different story altogether. That's somewhat troubling to hear. Is it, though? Let's talk about that Heike again. Well, either way you look at it, this region is still home to many places and things associated with the Heike. Yes, ma'am. Excellent. I believe I've gotten a grasp of the situation at hand. It's time we made our way back to the local... Jesus. It's time we made our way back to the next locale. We're on the clock, after all. Let's get to it. We're on the clock. Nope. Nope. Nope, nope. Think to myself. Okay. We're good. We're on the clock. It's weird not being everyone dying. Nope. Can't believe she murdered us. That was so mean. Was she gonna murder the foreigners? That'd be so bad. Well, it would seem that we've arrived. And where are we now, Circe? This is an area in Ano Town known as Kusawa. Kusawa is quite famous because of the Yaobikuni legend. I'd be surprised if there was anyone who hasn't heard of it. I'm sorry to say, I've never heard of it. Wait, really? Come now, don't act so shocked. You can't expect me to know every little thing. And besides, I'm not even from this country. The very reason I requested you to be my guide was so you could teach me about things like this. I guess that's true. Okay, I understand. I'll be counting on your explanations. Anno Town. It's located in the Age district, so named during the events of this story. It has since been merged with Sioux City of Mie Prefecture. Oh, so in the 80s it was still that, huh? Located at the foot of Kyogamine, a mountain with a single 819-meter peak. The land surrounding it is rich in natural splendor, with multiple hot springs welling forth from the earth around it. From the Edo period until the Meiji period, it was known for being the primary place of production of tsumoji, a delicate fabric woven in such a way as to be semi-transparent. Ah, interesting. If Yao Bikuni really did exist, I wonder what sort of life she led. Can't begin to imagine what it'd be like to live for hundreds of years. Neither can I. Ah, the fabled beauty of the serene Japanese countryside. It really is charming. Oh yes, the incessant chirruping of locusts combined with the unrelenting heat. This is Japanese summer, all right. It's fascinating to think such a peaceful place could be home to such profound historical events. I'm practically jittering with excitement. She's just a nerd. I can see that. Let's try to keep a cool head, shall we? My, young lady. Shrine. What's down there? Some sort of shrine? This shrine is apparently dedicated to Sugawara no Michizane. We should go pay our respects before we leave. Oh. A sign. Is there a sticker? No? No one wants to give me sticker? I can't look at this person's grass. Can't look at the floor. I can't look at this pole. Oh my god, yes! I knew it. Mockingbird 16 discovered. What's your name, buddy? What's your name? Little Blue. You're looking pretty big to me, Little Blue. Alright. Now that my hunt is over. The legend of Yao Bikuni. The legend of Yao Bikuni originated here in Kusawa, Anno Town. Long ago, a 17-year-old girl named Osato lived in this village. She unknowingly ingested the meat of a mermaid that was served during a village gathering and became immortal. After subsequently being persecuted by the other villagers, she became a nun and made a pilgrimage around the entire country. At the end of the story, she eventually returned to this village and lived out the rest of her very long life. Tales told in other parts of the country play out almost exactly in the same fashion. Yeah, I guess that's true. Once upon a time, a beautiful girl by the name of Osato lived in Kusawa village. One day when Osato was 17, the flesh of a mermaid was served at a village gathering. The other villagers, disturbed at the thought of eating such a strange creature, refused to eat it. But Osato unknowingly ate the mermaid's flesh. From that moment on, Osato didn't age a day. Shunned by the other villagers and treated as a monster, she was eventually forced to leave the village, becoming a nun. Osato traveled the length and breadth of Japan for hundreds of years before eventually returning to Kusawa village, where her long life at last came to an end. Well, she's having a bad time at this very present moment. The legend of Yao Bikuni, a girl who ate flesh of a mermaid and lived for 800 years, has been passed down all over Japan. Not only here in Mie Prefecture's Anno Town, but in Fukui, Aichi, and Gifu prefectures as well. In total, the story had been found in 121 locations in 28 prefectures throughout the country. Or at least that's what certain research has indicated. Does that seem like a lot? Were there really that many different Yao Bikunis out there? Obviously, not all of the legends can be true. But I actually have a theory on the subject. Would you like to hear it? By all means. Most of the legends refer to a woman who stopped aging and lived for 800 years after consuming the meat of a mermaid. At that point, because the others would find it strange that she wasn't getting any older, she wasn't able to live in a normal society anymore. I suppose that would be natural. It would explain why she withdrew from the world and became a nun. Exactly, and that's how she got the name Yao Bikuni, the 800-year-old Bikuni nun. With 800 years on her hands, she could have easily made a pilgrimage around the entire country. How interesting. Buddhist priests are known for trekking throughout the land as a form of ascetic training? Ascetic training? And if we consider the 121 locations where the legend was found, the 800 years to spare, she could have spent 6 years in each location. 6 years would have certainly been enough time for her to make a name for herself in each and every location, right? Ho-ho, my dear, I believe I see what you're getting at. Your theory posits that the stories of Yao Bikuni that have been passed down in every corner of the country all refer to the exact same individual. Well, it might be a bit much to say all of them are the same. There may have been a few different people. But it's more convincing than the theory that there were 121 people. I also think that Yao Bikuni of Wakase province is the most likely origin of the legend. I wonder. Don't all of the different instances of the story throughout Japan also claim that particular location as her place of final rest? That may be true, but I assume that each of those different places wanted to have a grave or some other tangible marker to base the legend on. It would be so many people, but would so many people that are purported to have lived for 800 years all die around the same time? It seems pretty unlikely. Then you believe some of the tales were embellished somewhat? That sort of thing happens all the time. Legends are always mixtures of truth and fantasy. Moreover, it doesn't make sense that every single immortal would decide to become a nun. There were likely some places that simply believed Yao Bikuni was the term for an immortal. Rather than a nun, for all we know, she said, "I'ma be none of dat," and became an Amma diver. Why did you say that? But why did you say that? That's actually pretty insightful. Many legends are based on a simple semantic misunderstandings. Oh, now wait a minute. I won't stand here and let my dumb joke actually become a salient point of discussion. Let's drop it then. But still, if one were to somehow live for 800 years, a person that became immortal after Kamakura period could still be alive today. True. And if so, I'd love to sit with them down for a long chat. We'd have tea and everything. Can Kurosawa's legend of Yao Bikuni really be true? There must be falsehoods and fictions mixed into the tale, surely. Who knows? Ise province isn't that far from Wakase province, after all. She may have simply walked there from there. The fact that the stories from each different area are so similar does make me wonder if they didn't get mixed together somehow. You think the legend might be an amalgamation of stories from various locations? Exactly. But then again... The immortal in the story from this location has her own name, which gives the legend a certain verisimilitude. What are these words? Verisimilitude? Indeed, it does. What does that mean? I guess we can assume that the girl with that name really did live here a long time ago. Then something must have happened to make people believe she had become immortal. It's reasonable to assume her story then got mixed up with various legends of Yao Bikuni from around the country before being passed down. Of course, the exact timing of these events is still unclear, but that does preset an interesting possibility. She could very well still be living in this village. Wouldn't that be a compelling development? Leave it to an occult writer to think up something like that. That's right. You're seeing the prodigious imaginative power of a fantasy author in action. Yes, it's really something. She seems impressed. If Yao Bikini really did exist, I wonder what sort of life she led. Yeah, hundreds of years sounds sucky. I don't want to do that. But the fact of the matter is that no traces of Yao Bikuni remain in this village. Even her grave, which is referred to Lady Yao's tomb, has never been located. But then, did we come all this way for nothing? No, we didn't. Another topic. Well, it might not have a direct connection, but there is something one should always consider when discussing Ise. The Tale of Ise. Have you heard of it? It's the oldest extant collection of Japanese verse, compiled sometime during the Heian period. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with it. But I have heard of the Tale of Genji and the Tale of Heike. Is it anything like those? Well, those were also stories written during the Heian period, but that's where the similarities end. Nice try, though. Huff. Well, they sound similar enough anyway. Don't worry, I'm not an expert on the subject either. Basically, this collection of verse elaborates on the number of waka poems by giving accounts of the events surrounding each one. The entire collection of 125 passages is referred to as the Three Tales of Ise. That's easy enough to remember, no? The Tale of Ise is a collection of short stories. Check. One more thing. The title might be The Tales of Ise, but the content isn't all that focused on the actual area. What's this now? Are they intentionally attempting to confuse and bewilder us? Some believe the title comes from the fact that Passage 69 is set in Ise province. Whoa! 69? First of all, nice. Second of all, wasn't that the first quote that showed up when we started the game? I remember this because of the 69. At any rate, I just thought I should bring it up because it does have at least a slight bearing on the topic at hand. If you're keen to learn more, I'll add more detailed information to the files. Why, thank you. I'll be sure to read through them later. My God. All right. A collection of verse or Uda Monogatari, thought to be the oldest surviving work in Japan. It is particularly well known for opening the sentence of many of its prose passages. Long ago, there was a man. Believed to have been compiled in the Heian period, it greatly influenced the literature of the era, including famous works such as the Tale of Genji, and the central figure of the narrative is speculated to be a fictionalized version of Ariwara no Narihara, a poet of the Heian period, with the prose and passages serving as a biography for the character. Both the author and its exact date of publication are unknown. The narrative spans 125 episodes, which vary in length from a few lines to several pages. It covers the life of a man from his coming of age to his death, and focuses primarily on the protagonist and the people around him, particularly his romantic dalliances with women. Some of its most famous episodes are summarized below. Tales of Ise, adapted from Integrated Collections Database of National Institutes of Cultural Heritage. Oh, interesting. Episode 1. Wow. Having come of age, a man sets out on a ceremonial falconry excursion, where he catches sight of two beautiful sisters. Infatuated, he cuts off the sleeve of his robe, inscribes a waka poem on it, and sends it to them. Episode 6, Akutagawa. A man, having finally succeeded in stealing away a beautiful noblewoman, flees with her to a warehouse, where they take shelter from the rain. However, the man discovers in the morning that she had disappeared, devoured by a demon that inhabited the warehouse. Oh, damn. Episode 9, Azuma Kudari. Feeling despondent about his future, a man embarks on a journey to the east with a group of friends. In Mikawa province, he catches sight of some beautiful flowers and reflects on how far his journey has brought him, and recites a poem. In Suruga province, he sees now on the peak of Mount Fuji, contemplates the passage of time. Oh, he sees snow on the peak of Mount Fuji, contemplates the passage of time, and recites a poem in Musashi. In Suruga province, he sees snow on the peak of the Mount Fuji, contemplates the passage of time, and recites a poem. In Musashi province, he spots an unfamiliar bird on the shores of Sumida River, recalls his wife and hometown, and recites a poem. His friends all weep upon hearing the latter, moved by his feelings for his faraway home. Interesting. Episode 23. We're just skipping through all of them. Close friends from childhood, a man and a woman exchange poems and are wed. But when the man prepares to travel to faraway Kawachi province to visit his other lover, the woman displays no hint of displeasure as she sees him off on his journey. Suspicious of her actions, the man hides in her garden and watches his wife make herself up as beautifully as she can. But when she then sits and recites poems out of concern for her traveling husband, he feels profound shame and decides not to go to Kawachi. Whoa, that's fun. Episode 69, yeah! Having been sent to Ise province to hunt game, a man is received with a great hospitality by the imperial princess serving as priestess at the Ise shrine. Attracted to each other, the two attempt to meet in secret, but can find no opportunity to speak intimately. Although they promise one another to meet the following day, it is not meant to be. The two exchange poems of farewell before the man sets out to continue his journey. Huh. I was just thinking of Sato and that guy on the phone who's like, do you not remember me? Huh. Hikoboshi. Having fallen in love with a woman who serves in the imperial court, a man finally manages to meet her after patiently waiting for the right moment. However, the two are still separated by a screen. The man recites a poem to her, proclaiming that his love for her is greater than even Hikoboshi's love for Orihime. He compares the screen separating them to the Milky Way that separates the two legendary lovers. Moved by his words, the woman removes the screen, allowing them to finally meet face to face. Okay. Interesting. Let's think. Okay, well, I don't know why I decided to think. I guess I was just reading for so long. There is one other thing we can learn about the Tales of Ise. Adding the tale of to a book title really classes things up. You should keep it in mind. It was apparently all the rage during the Heian period. Oh, I couldn't agree more, but my next work is certainly going to be a tale of. Yes, good for you. Well then, I suppose that brings this particular subject to a close. On to the next. No rest for the wicked, I say. Time to tackle the next mermaid myth. Sure. Oh, there's nothing to talk about. Goodbye. Futa Migora! That was fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. Futa Migora. And here we find our next subject of inquiry. What place might this be, my dear? This is Futa Migora, the coastline that lies beside Futami town, just over from Ise City. I swear to God, when you have to like switch accents and then you have to say some unfamiliar words, especially Japanese names, kind of gets confusing. Then we finally penetrated the outskirts of Ise City proper. Things are certainly beginning to heat up. I inferred that Ise City was the prefectural capital of from the fact that Mie Prefecture was once known as Ise Province. Not bad, eh? Well, I can understand how you would arrive at that conclusion. But the truth is, Mie Prefecture is composed of 4 separate provinces. Ise, Shima, Iga, and Ki. Is that so? But that doesn't change the fact that Ise City is regarded as the spiritual capital of Japan, making it a very important location. Very interesting. But the sun has already begun its steady descent, so perhaps we should pick up the pace a bit. Of course, I have my own reasons for trying to locate the mythical creatures, but now I intend to scour this land and learn as much of... Yeah. Oh, I cannot look at the sticker? It knows there's a whole sticker down here. Futamigara's sea is famously said... Oh, Circe. Futamigara's sea is famously said to purify the body. So many visitors to Ise Shrine come here as well. The scenic beauty of the location has even been featured in poems from antiquity. It certainly is easy on the eyes. The strands of pine trees along the shore makes quite the striking image. To make it even better, the embankment we're standing on offers a 360 view of Ise Bay. It makes you want to get out on every edge to take it all in. It really does. Being surrounded by the bay like this is such an enchanting feeling. What a breathtaking view. We are having a great time. Definitely no one's gonna die later. As far as the girl is concerned, I suppose I could be considered a guardian of sorts. Oh, yeah. You know, should be making things... Yeah. I read this already. Talk about Futamigora mermaids. So, does this place have any legends featuring mermaids? It does. A record called the Genki was written by people at Horyuji Temple after the Kamakura period. In that record, there's a total of 6 instances of information concerning mermaids. 6, eh? That's certainly promising. One of those entries describe a sighting here in Futami, Ise province on April 3rd during the 2nd year of Enbun era, which would be 1357. So they even noted the exact date. How fortuitous. The passage is as follows. From the sea to Futami in the Ise province came Enmeiju, delivering perpetuity. So, what exactly does that mean? My guess is that a mermaid was spotted in the sea by Futami, and it was named Enmeiju, meaning health and long life because it granted longevity. Longevity, Aha! It granted longevity, did it? Finally, we're getting to the good stuff. Yes, it's another account relating to mermaids, to Yao Bukuni. It seems the idea of mermaids granting immortality has already been established at that time. Indeed. And now we even have a name. Okay. Let's talk more about him. So what sort of mermaid was this, and what became of it? No clue. Again, with the vague records. These people write down the appearance of some fantastical creature, and then just let it wander off. I haven't personally gone over the query bit of research on the matter, but I can speculate on an answer. Records of mermaids in other places also often refer to them by name. In fact, it may not have been all that uncommon for people in the area to encounter them when these records were being written. Ah, let me see if I follow your meaning. The same mermaid would appear repeatedly, leading people into the area to grow accustomed to it. Am I on the right track? Exactly. I mean, you wouldn't bother giving a name to something you only saw once, after all. These people may have even come to have a kind of rapport with the mermaids. At the very least, it doesn't appear, as though they were trying to capture any. Mermaids that people didn't want to capture? Then they weren't seeking its flesh. Perhaps there was a way to obtaining immortality without even the meat? Maybe the mermaid meat was really just tasty and nothing more. And if that were the case, then it makes perfect sense that they would view the mermaid as a divine creature. It's because they're delicious. So they're treated as an auspicious being that blessed others with long life. You may be onto something there. This makes me think of that theory you mentioned about how there might be 2 different kinds of mermaids. Oh, you remembered. I stand by on my theory. There's the fish mermaid, which looks more like an aquatic monster or beastie. And then there's human mermaid, which resembles a demi-human or nymph. Indeed. That's the simplest way to describe it anyhow. Assuming the mermaid in question had a name, formed relationships with humans, and granted longevity, it stands to reason that it was sort of the human mermaid variety. You have a point. The mermaids we've encountered thus far have all been caught in nets and appeared to be more like fish mermaids. It seems more likely, then, that mermaids who grant longevity are actually these human mermaids. Interesting. That, in turn, would suggest... My word. Would this mean that one could become immortal without eating their flesh? I'm not sure. There are countless legends that reference the need to consume their flesh. But I can't help but feel like there's more to it. Yeah, good question. More mermaids. If human mermaids are capable of communicating with us, I'd really like to speak to one. Agreed. Okay. Talk about an interesting sighting. Speaking of which, this is entirely unrelated, but there's something I've been wondering. Do you mind? What? But our conversation was just getting good. Protest all you like, but I shall ask anyway. On our way here, I noticed a certain something adorning the entrances to everyone's houses. What was that? Oh, right, those are Somin Shorai. Interesting. I can add more detailed information to the files for you later. Yes. A type of talisman inscribed with the characters Somin Shorai Shison, meaning descendant of Somin Shorai. These talismans come in a variety of forms, ranging from smaller objects such as paper slips, wooden tags, hexagonal wooden charms, or larger objects such as hoops made of entwined miscanthus reeds or a shiminawa, sacred ropes used for ritual purification. These talismans are generally placed at doorways of households as a prayer for sound health and to ward off illness. God. Many households in Iseshima place Somin Shorai talismans at the entrances to their home, usually in the form of paper slips or shimenawa. Although most families in Japan only put shimenawa up during the new year, in Iseshima they are kept up the whole year round, being replaced once a year on New Year's Eve. The words Somin Shorai originate from the name of the central figure in legend of the same name. Although many versions of the tale exist through Japan, the tale as generally told in Iseshima is as follows. Okay. On New Year's Eve, the deity Gozu Tenno set out to court the Princess of Ryugu. However, when night fell, he found that none of the nearby inns had a spare room to offer him, and so he turned to two brothers who lived by the sea for hospitality. The wealthy younger brother, Kotan Shorai, turned him away, despite having the means to accommodate him. The elder brother, Somin Shorai, welcomed Gozu Tenno into his home, even though he lived in poverty. Pleased by the simple yet heartfelt reception he had received, Gozu Tenno awarded his hospitality by sparing only Somin Shorai from a plague that ravaged the area the next year. Ever since, it is said that hanging a wreath of miscanthus reeds and charm, declaring oneself to be a descendant of Somin Shorai from one's waist, will provide protection from plagues and illness. This tradition has survived to the present day, where such charms are now being used as talismans for good health and well-being. Hey. Sucks for the brother, though. I wonder if that's going to come back later. Because the other brother was well off, and he denied the god. So he died? Are there descendants for that? What is it? Oh, you sense? What is it? Now you're making me antsy. Do you see? This is the girl? Somin Shorai. Come now, Circe. You realized something about those Somin Shorai, didn't you? You must share. No, nothing like that. It just made me think about how close this area is to the eternal world. Is it? What does that mean? You already know this from the files, but regarding the Somin Shorai, its origin goes back to a legend about the deity Gozu Tenno, who was courting the Princess of Ryugu. Ryugu, you say? That's right, Ryugu is close to this place. In other words, that place is very close to the eternal world. Yes, and furthermore, Gozu Tenno was also the guardian deity of the Gion Shoja temple. The very same Gion Shoja who gets mentioned in our good old friend, The Tale of Heike. So it is. What was it again? From the bells of the Gion Shoja echoes out to the impermanence of all things, right? It sounds so cool that even I memorized it. Haven't got a clue what it means, though. Yes, that's the one. As for its meaning, you can look it up yourself. Fine, fine. So what you're saying is, Ise-shima is a land with deep ties to both Ryugu and the Heike. And that is exactly why Somin Shorai tradition is so well established here. Ah, that reminds me. What does it remind you? There's something about Ryugu's princess that keeps bothering me as well. She certainly is mysterious, That reminds me about Futamigora. Oh, it's nighttime. Dear me, how time flies when listening to your lectures, Circe. The sun has already gone down. I suppose I got carried away. Sorry. Well, if that results in such a lovely view of the sea at night, I'll not complain. You're right. Just look at all those stars. Ah. Yeah. Something feels wrong. What is this? Why is it doing that? But look, the heavens are entirely enveloped with a shower of dazzling pinpricks of light. What a sight to behold. Would you happen to be versed in constellations, Circe? Well, I've dabbed a bit in astrology, so I guess I know a thing or two. Excellent, do tell. Surroundings. But we really let time get away from us. Look how dark it's gotten. Without the light from the stars above, we'd be lost in pitch darkness. We would be. Think. Stars speckle in the sky as far as the eye can see. Not bad. Not bad at all. Definitely not. Dear me, I dragged her around all day long, didn't I? Or perhaps I should say I had her drag me around all day long. As her guardian for the time being, I suppose I ought to have us retire earlier. Though Circe herself seems to have limitless conserves of energy. She's 15. She's got unlimited energy. Talk about constellations. This is going to be important, I'm assuming. Well, if we consider the constellations you can see in Japan during summer, the first one that comes to mind is the Summer Triangle. It's an easy one to find. Triangle, eh? Then I presume it's made up of 3 stars. Correct. Vega in the constellation Lyra, Deneb in the constellation Cygnus, and Altair in the constellation Aquila. This trio of bright stars can be observed close to the Milky Way in this season. Hey, I was looking at those guys in the summer also. Was it summer when I was there? Oh, it might have been winter. Anyways, depends on where you are and on what time of year. What? I want to see. How do we go about identifying them? Well, first, low in the southwestern portion of the sky, look for a star that glows red. Antares of the Scorpio constellation. Southwest, you say? From here, that would be facing inland and looking to the right. Okay, try to find a red star, low in the island, and point to it. Yeah, it's the Summer Triangle. I know Cygnus. It's just like a weird cross thing. I like to pretend it's like 2 hands. There's the Small Dipper. What else is there? Hercules, Aquila, Delphinus, Lyra, yeah. Vulpecula. Anyways, that's exciting. I hope to look at stars and they kill me. It's this one. Wait, I do believe I found it. The star just there with the reddish tint. That must be Antares, yes? Correct, that is indeed Antares. The brightest star in Scorpio constellation. Aha! I found it all by myself. Why, I'd make quite the celestial cartographer if I do say so myself. I hate to rain on your parade, but you were supposed to be looking for a star in the summer triangle, so please try again. Egads, that is right. Why not looking straight up from Antares? I bet you'll find Vega in the sky zenith. Give it a shot. Yes! Oh, this is probably it. There, that must be it. Bingo, that's Vega. One of the 3 stars in the summer triangle. She likes saying bingo. In Japan, Vega is also called the Orihime star, and is famous for its connection to the Tanabata Star Festival. Makes me think of Steins Gate Zero. I remember playing that game, and Vega and Altair were like a pretty important symbolism. Then that must mean Hikoboshi will be on the opposite side of the Milky Way from that one. Exactly right. Can you figure out which one it is? One of the other stars in the summer triangle is in the same area, so see if you can find it. I thought it was him saying it. It's here, right? Eureka, I've spotted it. Ooh, that's Altair, one of the 3 stars in the summer triangle. Part of the Aquila constellation, Altair is known in Japan as Hikoboshi for its role in the Tanabata Star Festival. Oh, that means I've managed to spot both Orihime and Hikoboshi. It's as if I've drawn the 2 star-crossed lovers together with my own hand. How overjoyed they must be. Yeah, nice work. I didn't expect you to be such a romantic. There's still another star in the summer triangle to find. It might be hard to see because of the angle. Right you are. It certainly is a bit tricky to see something directly above you. Where are you? Is it this one here? If my eyes are discerning as I believe it to be, that's the one. Oh, nice find. That's Deneb, one of the 3 stars in the summer triangle. Deneb lies within the Milky Way, which earns it the nickname Milky Way Star. Ah, it does indeed appear to be swimming nicely along the starry stream. There, I've located all 3 stars of the summer triangle. How do you like that? Good work. Just clapped. Now you've mastered the summer skies. Should I start addressing you as Professor? That's me. Feel free to rely on my knowledge. All right, then. Tell me, what is another name for the Hikoboshi? It's Altair. That's right. Well done, Professor. Phew. I mean, nothing to it. Regardless, I've seen all there is to see here in Futamigora. I'd even go so far as to call this a wrap. I think that covers all the mermaid legends for Mie Prefecture. But is there anywhere else you're keen to visit, Circe? What? We haven't even visited Ise Shrine yet. If you ask me, we've barely scratched the surface. Ah, you've got a point there. But it's getting late. So let's save that for tomorrow, shall we? All right. The next day. Oh, we're just still going. Wow, I just thought it was going to end. I just thought it was just going to end at that point. But all right. Date unknown. Mount Asama. This is new. Also, this is gorgeous. Wow, talk about a gorgeous view. Me and Avi are synced up right now. It is something, isn't it? This is Mount Asama's observation platform. It overlooks Toba City on one side of the Ise, on one side, and Ise City on the other. So that's Toba City over there, eh? What's Toba got going for it? Well, the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Toba is Toba Castle, built in Sengoku period by none other than the pirate daimyo Lord Kuki, who at one time led the Kuki naval fleet. Wow. Oh, that's more exciting than I anticipated. As for the Tobashima area, it's famous for having the highest population of ama divers in Japan. Aha! I knew there'd be something touristy. What a fantastic blend of culture and history. Good for you, man. Mount Asama. Mount Asama straddles the border between Ise City and Toba City. It is also known by its official name of Asamagatake. Jeez. Part of the Ise Shima National Park, it was selected as one of 100 landscapes of Japan. A listing of famous scenic sites gathered from across the country. Kongo Shoji, a temple located on the southern peak of Mount Sama, was built to protect Ise Shrine from the northeast, traditionally regarded as a spiritually vulnerable direction. Perhaps as a result, many worshippers who visit Ise Shrine also make the journey to Kongo Shoji. The observatory at the peak of the mountain offers a sweeping view of Toba City and the many islands that dot Ise Bay. Huh. Didn't realize it got dark out. Jeez. Talk about the kooky Navy. First off, you should know then that naval troops in the Sengoku period were basically just pirates. Pirates, eh? Yes, they would put together crews of rowdy sailors, arm them to the teeth, and have them patrol a designated area of the sea. It's like they only actually served under their commander as a naval force when there was a battle. So that's what the Navy was like back then, A ragtag bunch of pirates only called on to do their duty in times of needs. Actually, funnily enough, I think the history of piracy is kind of like that. They were kind of like an army that was called in for war, but once that was done with, those guys were just let go and they were like, we don't need you anymore. And, you know, Britain was just like, here you go, you're done. And those guys were like, well, fuck you, we need to make a living, and they just started stealing from people with their naval ships, which makes sense. Exactly. In fact, such forces only came to be called navies during the Edo period, and that was purely a matter of convenience. As for the Kuki Navy, it was one of the pirate bands patrolling the waters of Ise Bay. A man named Kuki Yoshitaka was its commander, hence the name. He distinguished himself in the service of Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi, eventually rising to the position of daimyo of Shima province. That's why they call him the Pirate Daimyo. He started as a lowly pirate, but rose all the way to the top of the chain of command. Did you say Oda Nobunaga? Him I've heard of. He was the demon king of the sixth heaven, no? True, but that was the title he gave himself. Still, a pirate and a daimyo. What an enchanting combination. That may be, but he wasn't blessed where allies were concerned. It seems he was always butting heads with his relatives. Oh? For one thing, he may have had his nephew Sumikataka assassinated in order to take over the Kuki clan. Damn, that's rough. He also fought on the opposite side of his own son, Moritaka, in the decisive battle of Sekigahara. And in the end, spurred on by his vassals, he committed suicide on Toshijima, that island over there. It was fucked up. So, while Kuki became daimyo of Shima province, his land was confiscated during his son's rule, and the clan fell into decline. Life truly is full of ups and downs. How the mighty do fall. He must have been quite a character. Yes. She's been packed and ready to venture forth since the early hours of the morning. Though I myself beat her to the punch, having been too excited to sleep a wink all night. You're a silly man. Apparently, Mount Asama's peak sits at 555 meters above sea level, so it's not that high. But as it's situated at the tip of Shima Peninsula, it offers magnificent view of Toba Bay's coastline and the outlying islands. Since we stopped by the shrine this morning, I assumed we'd taken the mountain path. All I could say is, this place takes my breath away. It really looks great. I wish I could see it too. Is there a sticker? Where's the sticker? There's a sticker in those trees somewhere. Is it in the sky? Is that a sticker? None of these are stickers. Life is cruel. Is that a sticker? Is that a sticker? Alright, kooky Navy time. That reminds me, there's another fascinating legend related to the Kuki clan. Oh, do tell. It's about Kuki Yoshitaka's nephew, Sumitaka. He had an extraordinarily beautiful daughter named Princess Hatsune. I dare say I know where this is going. Whenever a legend starts with a beautiful daughter, it inevitably ends with trouble. You're not wrong there. Princess Hatsune was so beautiful that she saw no end of suitors, and her father sought to marry her off to achieve his political ends. But the princess already had a lover, so she fought against her father's plans, and even ran away several times, only to be brought home. I knew it. Alas, that is what life was like for the daughters of powerful figures in those days. Well, Princess Hatsune lamented her fate. Must I be cursed with such misfortune merely for my beauty? And she didn't stop there. May no beautiful daughter be born to this land again. Such was the curse she left behind, before throwing herself down a well. And so ends the legend. Not what I'd call a happy ending. The princess may have had good intentions, but I'm sure no one else felt she was doing them any favors. Good intentions? That isn't how I interpreted it. Well, what's your take on the story then? I wasn't thinking it was good intentions either. When authority figures try to force other people's hands, they bring these things upon themselves. It's just asking to get cursed. Fair enough. I see your point. Still, the princess did take it a bit far. To me, though, it almost feels like that part was tacked on later. As if someone thought it would make the story more impactful, and that word of it would travel further if the princess killed herself at the end. Oh, if you're right, that would change the story completely. But there is something else that interests me more. Sumitaka became head of the Kuki clan in 1560, but he was so young that Yoshitaka had to be appointed as his guardian. His exact age at the time isn't known, but the common belief is that he was about 8 years old. Nothing unusual there. Premature inheritances were common occurrences in those days. But considering this, when Sumitaka died 24 years later in 1584, he would have been 32 years old. Yes. But even if we were suppose that Princess Hatsune was 15, the ages don't quite add up, do they? Age differences weren't so much of a point of contention back then, but even so, that is a bit odd. Which begs the question, did Princess Hatsune really exist to begin with? And even if she did, was she really Sumitaka's daughter? An Agate Magatama was unearthed at the place where the princess was supposedly buried. But that could have easily been planted there to lend credibility to the tale. Well, once you start doubting, it's hard not to see lies everywhere. True, and the pursuit of the unknown starts with belief, doesn't it? Well said. A certain occult researcher taught me that one. You don't say. Koke Province. Man, there's a lot. Well, I'll read it all. The Kuki clan, the pirates who became feudal lords. During the Sengoku period, Shima Province was home to a number of local clans, among which the Kuki clan was just one of the many pirate clans operating in Ise Bay. However, things changed when Kuki Yoshitaka correctly read the changing tides and allied himself first with Oda Nobunaga, and then Toyotomi Hideyoshi, both powerful figures of the area. Rising to prominence as commander of the Kuki Navy, he became the feudal lord of Shima Province, founding Toba Castle as his base of operations. While Toshitaka was in the service of Nobunaga, the head of Kuki clan was his nephew, Sumitaka, with Yoshitaka serving as his advisor. Despite his position, Sumitaka was little more than a puppet lord and died young, reportedly due to illness just 2 years after the Honoji incident. However, some theories suggest that he was actually poisoned by Yoshitaka as part of a scheme to seize control of the family. That's right. The legend of Princess Hatsune. Kuki Sumitaka's daughter, Princess Hatsune, was said to have been a woman of great beauty. Sumitaka planned to marry her as part of a political marriage. However, Princess Hatsune refused, saying that if she had already promised her future to someone else. Upon learning that Princess Hatsune's beloved was a member of an enemy clan, Sumitaka was enraged and insisted that she marry the person he had chosen for her. Although Princess Hatsune made numerous attempts to escape in order to be with her lover, she was caught each time and forced to return home. Despairing of her fate, Princess Hatsune lamented her beauty, blaming it for her predicament, before throwing herself down a well in her sorrow. As she did, she prayed with her last breath that no beautiful woman would ever be born in that land again, or so the legend goes. Despite the tale persevering as part of local folklore, many questions about the accuracy of Princess Hatsune's legend remain, including Sumitaka's age at the time. Wow. There's a lot of reading. From what I hear, lots of the inns in Toba are run by ama divers and fishermen. I can't wait to dig into some seafood tonight. No, that sounds really good, actually. Wow, I'm still talking about him. Oh, I just realized something. Kuki Sumitaka died or was assassinated exactly 400 years ago. Huh. Is that significant? It is. Special spiritual significance is attached to periods of 400 years. For instance, the cycle of death and rebirth supposedly lasts 400 years. And some stories claim that a soul endures for 400 years. Huh. Of course, 800-year-old immortals have twice that lifespan, but as you can see, 400 years is widely considered a good cutoff point. So there's a chance something happens after 400 years. Maybe. In any case, we should probably tread carefully there. Sounds to me as if we're in the right place to be at the right time. I guess so. Talk about ama divers. Ama divers have a long history in the Toba-shima region. Evidence indicates that free divers have been fishing in the area since ancient times. You don't say. Most notably, it is said that Oben, who once presented an abalone to Yamatomo Hime no Mikoto, was the very first ama diver. In fact, there is a shrine dedicated to Oben in Kuzaki and is considered a sacred place to ama divers of the Toba-shima region. Is that so? She must have been truly legendary. Moreover, there are several poems in the famous 8th century poetry anthology Manyoshu that depict the ama diving in Shima province. Ama divers also appear in dozens of ukiyo-e from the Edo period. Clearly, they were a popular theme. It's quite incredible to think that their method of fishing has not only endured for that long, but has been recorded in such exquisite detail. There is another point worth noting. Ama divers have long been likened to mermaids for their skill and grace. You could even argue that the ama diver culture that is so deeply rooted in this place is interwoven with the region's mermaid legends. Ah, yes. There is a theory that mermaids of Ise Bay were simply ama divers. It does seem like that there's a connection between the two. I wouldn't be surprised if they were originators of the legend. Perhaps, but I'd be beyond disappointed if that's all there is to it. All right. Oh my god, we're still going. By the way, there's another legend surrounding the ama divers of the Toba-shima region regarding something called the Tomokazuki. The Tomokazuki? It is believed that an ama diver may encounter a copy of herself underwater, who will then offer her an abalone. If she accepts, the Tomokazuki doppelganger will drag her into the bottom of the sea, never to be seen again. Ah, Circe, please don't spring scary stories on me out of nowhere. That's why the ama divers in this area wear the Seimin and Domin symbols on them while they dive. It's a tradition that has continued right up to this present day. There must be some reason for it beyond pure superstition. Interesting. Yeah? Yeah, it's interesting. Is there more to look at? Cityscape? Over there, you can see the city of Toba spread out along the coast. By the way, they do call this the Iseshima region. But most of the time, that term includes Toba as well. Something to keep in mind. So when I hear Iseshima, I should think of Toba, eh? Good to know. Oh my god. As the area referred to as Iseshima is also includes Toba City. It is also sometimes referred to as the Isa-Toba-shima area to avoid confusion. That is confusing. Is that it? Cityscape, surroundings, cloud, this thing. Girl, talk to me. Oh, on another note, the Amadivers of the Tobashima region possessed such exceptional diving skills that, in addition to fishing, they also saved people from drowning and fetched objects that they had sunk to the sea floor right up until the Meiji era. Well, it sounds as if they were true diving professionals. Exactly. In fact, after the Heike were defeated at Dan no Ura and were lost beneath the waves... Oh, we're back to Heike already. I wasn't aware there was a connection. Well, after that fateful battle, who do you think they sent to reclaim the legendary sword Kusanagi no Tsurugi from the seafloor? 2 Amadivers. Aha, so their lost and found services were being employed even back then, eh? And while they were diving, they came face to face with the vengeful spirits of the drowned Heike. Circe, please, you're going to give me nightmares. At least that's what's depicted in the ukiyo-e entitled, In the Western Sea, the diving women encounter the Heike in the depths of the water. Such a deep connection. To think the Heike were even once depicted with Amadivers. They truly are a symbol of the Seishima region. Yes, but the setting for the ukiyo-e is Dan no Ura, which isn't anywhere near here. Still, it does go to show that Amadivers have held deep connection to the sea for a very long time. More Ama stuff. And when we're talking about Tobashima region, Amadivers are always going to be the key player. True, if you ask me, they should be brought up before the pirates. Mind you, the Navy had a crucial role to play too. Right, well, as fascinating as all of this has been, Circe, I'd say it's high time we return to our primary topic of interest here. Oh, and what would that be? Personally, now that we've visited Ise Shrine, I'm more or less satisfied. Tut tut. Circe, you disappoint me. Didn't we come here... Well, we didn't come here purely to chase legends, did we? Aw, and here I was hoping we could move on to buying souvenirs next. You know perfectly well that the true purpose of my voyage is nothing more or less than a treasure hunt. Right. Of course. I'm sure all this information we've been gathering will come in handy as well. First things first, let's head back to the inn. From there, we can plan our next move. What a man. Holy cow, that was so long. Oh my god. But that was a lot of good lore. Kind of made me think a lot about what just happened with Yuza and Sato. So, I'm gonna take a break here. My voice is dying. I think I'm still not finished being sick. So, I'm gonna take a little break from this. But thanks for joining me here, and we'll continue with Avi Barnum, that wild man. And, I guess, see you around next time. Should I say it like Avi? Should I be like, goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video. Tut tut.